Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
I am sure that you've heard this phrase before, or you've said it to somebody. Why are you being so defensive? Right? We're going to talk about defense mechanisms, what we do to put up blocks, defend ourselves. We don't even know we're doing it. Sometimes that is a block to progress or relationships and success. She helps people with that all the time. She's a CEO and founder of Dynamics of Conversation. She's fantastic, actually. She's a life coach, an author, a speaker, and she's Iveta Kuzela. She's back with us. Welcome. How are you doing today?
Hi, Steve. I'm wonderful. How are you doing?
Terrific. Yeah.
Yay. I'm happy to be back.
I'm happy to have you back here, and you're like a ray of sunshine every time you appear on my screen. And I'm sure for everybody else, just so much positivity, positive energy, and great insight and information for stuff that we deal with all the time, whether it's on a professional level or we just want to personally move our lives forward. And yeah, these defense mechanisms it's real. We use them all the time. Where do we start with that?
Okay, so I want to start off first by maybe explaining why it happens for some. And we as humans, we have this nature, we have the drive within ourselves to feel connected, right? To feel that we are needed, we want to be part of something, we want to belong somewhere, we want to be accepted for who we are. And this drive to belong, to be seen and to be accepted drives us to connect with other people. And the very first way we do that is through our communication, right? We express how we feel, what we think, what our values are. And then we use our conversation to express all of this, right? And the connection with the other people. Well, as we grow older, we have certain stages and sections that we enter as we grow up. And this also brings a new awareness and kind of gets us in a connection like, okay, this is how I function in the world in this stage of life. This is how I function in the world in this stage of life. And then brings the perception of who we are that leads us to be where we are right now. And in each of these stages, we always strive for connection, whether it's in our family, at work, with our coworkers, friends, whoever, right? We always strive for some type of connection where we feel like, yeah, this is my home. This is where I belong. This is what I'm supposed to do. And I'm seen and accepted for who I am. But, let's be honest, the world is not easy. And it brings lots of challenges, lots of trauma, lots of disappointments, failures, and, sadness and shame. And all of that comes with it, right? It's all packed in this beautiful way of living the life. And what are these disconnection brings? They bring distance, right? When we feel disappointed, when we feel sad, angry because somebody did something to us and we felt so connected and so in tune with that person, and suddenly something happens, you distance yourself from that relationship, you distance yourself from people, you distance yourself from the connections, and you create walls. I like to call it walls, or even a shield, right? And you create a little wall around you to protect yourself, because naturally you don't want to be hurt, you don't want to be disappointed, you don't want to be fail and experience failure and all that. And so you create a wall that you think that wall is going to protect me from all that outside world and from the people who want to hurt me, and you all do that because you want to feel safe, right? And we all do it at some point in some level. But I want to draw this because when we create that wall, not only that it separate us from the rest, it separates us from other people, from reaching out, from having the great conversation and trying to find maybe a better, great job or different relationship. It also, prevent us from actually us reaching to other people. So it's not from people to reach you, but also you reach to other people. There is that wall. And we call it the defense mechanism. I like to call it because we feel that we need to defend ourselves. We need to put the wall up and so that we can stay protected, right? And so the defense mechanism just comes in when we feel that we are threatened, when we feel that we need to be safe and sound and protected. But the same wall keeps us distant, lonely, and away from other people, relationships, new opportunities, everything else.
When we talk about defense mechanisms, what are some examples?
All right. Actually, I'm going to reach back to my book, The Map of Truth, A Journey to Joy workbook. And I created a questions because, I'm a coach and I like to ask lots of questions because I think asking, a good questions can really help you to dig deep and find the reasons. So
Sure.
let me just read you a few of those defense mechanism questions that I've created. And they're coming from different angles, different point of view, personal, professional life, all together, right? So, do you try to get your point across by talking louder or faster? Do you feel bad about what you said or how you acted, but can't admit it? Do you get angry or shout out intimidatedly to the other person into hearing you or agreeing with you? Do you purposely verbally hurt or embarrass others to feel better about yourself? Do you use the silent treatment to communicate that you are not happy? Do you say, I'm sorry, even when you have no reason to apologize? Do you find yourself talking about all the accomplishments and positions because you feel nervous? Or do you gossip as a way to connect or feel valuable? Do you blame your partner for your own flaws? Do you pretend everything is fine even when it's not? And my last one, do you hold back from stepping up and sharing your knowledge? And I want to stop with this last one because I can relate to it very well from my own life, from my own examples. And that is when I started a business. I had that school, right, that gave me the knowledge and the know-how. I had the corporate background that helped me to kind of feel comfortable starting a business. And I combined these together and I thought, oh, there we go. I have the knowledge, I have the know-how, and I can put it together to create a business. And I did. And I would have clients here and there, but it wasn't really in that drive, it wasn't that flow that I was kind of hoping for and expecting to happen. And I kept wondering why, what's going on? Why do I keep why do I feel stuck? Why do I keep hitting the same obstacles over and over and over again? And I couldn't put the finger on it. And when I start doing the subconscious release technique, the energy healing that I do, and I start uncovering all that beliefs that I had, I came to one that I didn't even know that existed. And that was me growing up with 4 siblings, being the oldest girl. I had lots of responsibilities of, helping to taking care of others. And I didn't know until I started digging that I realized that I didn't want to be that person that constantly cared for others. And yet I was here trying to open out a business that actually what it does is help and care for others, right? You want to help and, other people to rise and be better and create, more opportunities for them. And yet there I was as a little child saying, I don't want to help anymore. I'm done taking care of others. I want to do something else. And I had these 2 push and pull beliefs, right? In one side, my conscious was like, yes, that's my drive. I want to do this. I wanted so deeply to help others and, make the world a better place. And yet in my subconscious mind, I had that belief like, no, you don't. You already did. And you don't want to do it anymore. And then there was that contradiction, right? That was just like constantly going back and forth. And I didn't know this until I really start investigating, like, what's going on? Why can I not really get that flow? Why can't I just, feel open so that people would reach out to me and I would reach out to them and we would have that nice flowy, conversation and client relationships. And that's what I came to, that subconsciously I really didn't want to. And it was heartbroken because I'm like, all that effort, all that time, all that money, everything that we put on to build something for for our dream, right? Whatever it is. And then if you have that subconscious belief that no, you don't want to, then you're not going to get too far. And you're constantly going to struggle and go back and forth on that.
I want to stay where we are right now. Those were two conflicts, complete opposites of each other.
Yep.
How did you move past that? Because obviously you're doing what you're doing, which is helping people, but you had a block there. How did you move past that?
Well, it started off by just really, I always talk about an onion. You have to start peeling the onion off. And sometimes you don't get to these deep programs that you are not even aware until you actually uncover and peel the top layer that are before it, in front of it. And it was my willingness to really dig deep. It was my openness to really try to figure out why I couldn't get the clients. And I was open to it. I accepted that there is something, that there is a block, that there is a pattern that keeps repeating. And I was open to it, to really find it. And the subconscious release technique was the way to go. That actually helped me to uncover it and get to the root cause, right? Not just putting the weed out from where the ground is, but actually getting the whole root out. And then the whole thing just shifted.
Wow. And you were able to do that for yourself.
Yes. Well, I had a mentor who helped me. But I think that if I wouldn't be open to the energy healing, if I wouldn't be open to the subconscious release technique, I don't think that I would ever get that deep. I don't think I would ever uncover that root that was holding me back. Yeah, honestly.
That's huge.
Yeah.
It really is. And the fact that you had somebody help you along the way, but these are techniques that you help people with and they work for you.
Yeah.
Pretty major. And it's interesting when we talk about defense mechanisms, going back to some of the examples you gave, I never viewed a defense mechanism as the one that you gave where somebody puts others down. A great example pops in my head. I used to have a friend, he was a neighbor, this is going way back, but it used to just drive me crazy. Anytime we'd all go out to dinner, and he was doing real good. He was doing fine for himself. He would always put down the server. He would always play games with them. He would always just, it's just disrespectful. And it's essentially he was putting them down to make himself look bigger. I didn't see that as a defense mechanism, but I guess it is. He's defending something, maybe his insecurity, whatever it might be.
Exactly. You got it. Yep.
That builds him up.
Yep.
Yeah, there are many of them. Interesting. Interesting.
I know, right? We don't often we think about defense mechanisms in a certain way. That's why I wanted to draw different questions from a different angles to show people that it's not really just that, the regular thing that you can think of, like protecting yourself, but it's also the harmful thoughts, the harmful phrases, the harmful behavior that we do is also part of the defense mechanism because you are trying to protect something, right? Whether it's your ego, whether it's your insecurities, or whether it's your, you maybe be shameful of your failures. There's always something that we're trying to, feel protected and defend it. And that's why we put it out. When people say, I'm sorry all the time, they might be scared. Like if they don't say sorry, something bad will happen to them. So there's different ways you can go about this. And you really need to, the way I like to help clients to start this process, even just realizing it, because the first thing what you got to do, and I know I always say it on every single episode, before you can change anything, you got to see it first, right? If you don't know what you're doing and what you're saying, then how can you go about changing it if you don't know where it's coming from? So staying in the present moment and listening to your conversations, listen to the phrases that you are saying, listen to the questions that you are asking, listen to the responses that you are having. Like, let's say you have a fight, and some people just go and totally shut down and they don't talk for 3 days, right? There's many different reasons why that happens, but investigate, try to find out why it is that you shut down. Is it something that you're scared of talking? Is it the fact that you're just trying to process the whole fight and you're just trying to find the right words, and kind of preventing, like, I don't want to say something bad, so I'm just going to shut down, right? So try to figure out, why are you defending yourself?
Or maybe you don't want to deal. I just
Yeah.
don't want to, yeah.
And that is also a defense mechanism, right? Why don't you want to deal with that? Usually it's a childhood experience. It could be some trauma that happens. It could be, all sorts of reason why it started, the root, where you created the root, right? And so it's really about realizing, this is what I say and this is what I do. When I have a conflict at work, what is the first response that you do? How do you respond to that conflict, right? Do you immediately attack back, thinking, oh, I need to stand my ground and I need to show that I am the boss here? Or do you go about, like, okay, I need to chill. I'm just going to kind of center myself, slow down, take a deep breath, and then I'm going to find a right way to deal with it, right? How do you do all of this? Just kind of understand how you operate. And that helps to figure out where the root cause is. And, then we can use the energy healing and the SRT to really pull that root out. But it's the willingness, right? It's the willingness to try, the willingness to listen to yourself.
Well, like you said a moment ago, you can't fix the problem unless you really know what the problem is. And in your situation, and thank you for being very honest and transparent about it, in terms of your business when you first began, you didn't know. Like,
Yep.
wait, I want to help. I want to do this, but I can't do it. Something's not right. And you uncovered it. You peeled back the layers of the onion and found out what it was. Let's go back to that. When you used the subconscious connection techniques, how did you move past that one belief that you had that was stuck in your subconscious?
Okay, so the way that technique works is that you use a breath work first you listen for your thoughts and for what you say. Like, I can't have clients, I'm having a hard time with that. And then you go and you say, okay, why do you have a hard time with that? What happened in a childhood that might have altered the way that you filter your life now, right? Because we have these programs. 90% of the way we function, the way we respond, the way we listen and communicate is through our subconscious beliefs, right? Only 10% is usually through our conscious beliefs. So you really get into that childhood, growing up, what happened there, how you grow up, what kind of relationship you have with your father, what kind of relationship you have with your mother, what kind of relationship you have with your siblings, what situation altered you to view that as a threat, and therefore you created this belief, but now you run your life through that belief on every single day, and so it is a little detective work, but I get downloads. I can listen. When I listen to the clients and I kind of get into their energy field, their programs, they just pop in my mind. I don't know how else to tell you. They come in. Their programs, you can see right away just by listening to the person, and their programs, they just kind of come in like, I'm not good enough, because this and this. And I ask questions. What happened to you when you were, 5 years old? Can you remember the first time this happened? And by opening up and talking about the past, talking about the pain, being vulnerable, that helps to find the programs and release them through the breath work. And then we fill them up with a positive affirmation, and the person can just move on.
Wow. With this,
did it make sense? I'm not sure if
it totally makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
What I'm going to say here is, it's like you're a doctor. When you go to see the doctor, you give your case history.
Right.
Who
Yep.
had what in your immediate family? Of course, your symptoms and things like that. But they'll do a case history. Any immediate family members have a major disease. They got to know that. But that's kind of what you're doing. You're getting the case history of somebody to better determine what is going on with them. Because right away, you might even see it even before you do any kind of subconscious work with someone. If somebody tells you, I'm hypothetical here. Let's say their parents got divorced and they have a feeling of not being good enough, or you think that's what their feeling is. Well, you know what? It's reasonable to think that maybe because of that situation, could have been a trauma. Many times it is when your parents split up when you're much younger, that you may have that feeling that, oh, maybe it was me. I wasn't good enough. That's why they.
Exactly. Yep.
But yeah, you need to know that.
Right. Good job. Yeah, Steve, that was a great example. Absolutely. And then because you don't understand the concept of what happens, you automatically put it on yourself. Oh, it's my fault. I wasn't good enough, so they didn't stay with me, and therefore they split up. And now I'm gonna, right? And so, because when you're a child, you don't understand the whole picture, right? You only see certain parts.
Yep.
And yet we have this in their subconscious mind. It stores as oh, I'm not good enough, and they split it because of me.
Yep, absolutely. And you already have a running start, because to me it seems like you're almost a little. And I'm gonna just pause right here. Your camera slightly went out of focus because you moved your hands and it was focusing on your hands.
I know. I keep moving all the time.
You can still see it. I would have to even think that you may be even a little intuitive in picking up on these things, maybe energetically, by asking somebody their history and what they went through, to almost like a running start. Like in your mind, okay, it might be that, it might be that, it might be that. Now let's dig into the subconscious, and now you're even that much further ahead in terms of helping somebody because you kind of got their case history.
Yes, yes. And it really is about the person being open to it, right? Because we don't want to face our fears. We don't want to face the pain that we already experienced in a past. And therefore we're like, no, we're putting that shield up the wall and we don't want anything, right? We're trying to suppress it and push it down. And yet I think that it's so important to actually heal it so that you can move forward and you don't have to drag it with you into the future. Because the more you think about, and even though we say, oh, I don't think about this anymore. Yes, you do all the time, because you bringing it into your thoughts, into your everyday moment, into the present moment, and therefore you are creating the future with it. And I found that people often think that whatever happened in a childhood doesn't influence what happens, in the present moment. And yeah, it's huge, actually the opposite.
It's
Yes,
everything. It's everything. I don't think there's anybody walking around that is not dealing with something that they experience in their childhood. And be clear here, we're not talking about some major event that went on. It could be the littlest, tiniest thing. It could be you drew a picture for your mom and showed her. And she's like, that's really good, but that tree doesn't look like a tree. You could do better than that. And that could have planted that seed later in life. You're always trying harder. You feel that you can't get to a certain point in your life because of that one comment. And as parents, we don't know. We never knew that was going to make an impact. You could have joked around with your kid, just having fun, saying, your hair looks crazy. What are you doing? It could have made an impression, but we're dealing with that. And it takes somebody like you to figure out what we're dealing with.
I have a good example too. Thank you. That was a good example. I think I was in the 5th grade, and I it was social studies class. And I stood up in front of the whole class and I had to say something, but the teacher asked me a question and I had to stand up and I had to answer. And I said something and it didn't resonate with the teacher. And she totally just cut me off. She put me down and she literally just embarrassed me in front of the whole class. And she's like, shut up. This is not, this is not right. And I remember that moment so deeply because I had to clear that moment from my subconscious mind, because there I was, trying to express myself, vocalize myself, answer the teacher's question. And yet I was embarrassed in front of the whole class and it totally put me down. And so when I was going on camera and when I was going live, and I'm like, I had this terrifying feeling like, no, I mean, I'm gonna embarrass myself and nobody's gonna believe me. And that was that little moment. For that teacher, I was probably nothing. For me, totally life-changing. And I had to go and clear that subconscious belief that I can't speak up because I'm gonna be embarrassed and I'm gonna be shut down. And I had to clear that belief to go on the camera and speak this vulnerably, openly, honestly, like whatever, right? I'm me here right now, and this is what I gotta say. And so, so that's another example with that.
We're out of time, but I'm going to say, had almost the same thing happen to me. And I betcha I probably would have moved faster through my career if I had not had that moment, second grade, Mrs. Baruch's class. I giggled out loud. She wasn't happy. She grabbed me by the arm, put me in front of the class, spanked me, and sat me in a chair in front of everybody. I went and told my mother. It was a whole big thing. It went before the Board of Education. She got reprimanded. I got taken out of that class. I just giggled. That's it.
Right.
But same thing, an embarrassment in front of a bunch of peers when you were much younger. All of this stuff we need to uncover it. Imagine if we did. How much better.
I know, right?
As people, as individuals, and even in terms of our career. What's your website, Iveta?
My website is dynamicsofconversation.com. You can find me there. You can reach out to me on my cell phone, 720-207-8932. I'll be happy to talk to you.
I'm glad you pulled that moment out of your subconscious, because you're great on camera.
Thank you. And I love to talk to people, but it's like, and we're back to that pool. I love to talk to people, and that here I am worrying and, being like, I can't, they're going to be judging me, that I'm going to be shamed, I'm going to be put down, I'm going to be embarrassed, right? And then that was this whole thing again, like, you can't do that, but you want to so badly.
Yep. And same thing starting your business. There was a reason that you wanted to so badly, but you had to figure it out. And you're there to help people figure it out. Thank you so much for being here today.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.